Okay, so I'm sitting with Jason Siliker, who's agreed to talk with me about an interesting. He's an outfitter with Canadian Premier Hunts. It's out in the Sherwood Park region, I guess you could say. It sounds like who had an interesting weekend of hunting geese over the weekend with the RCMP coming out to visit, and it's he's put some pictures up on social media, and it's really spread around, and some people have expressed concern or laughed or a number of things, but there's an interesting and some serious issues going on. If you could expand on what you experienced last weekend, Jason, we appreciate it.
You bet, Corey. Hey, thanks for inviting us. And like I said, our to accept this invite was more to try to educate people. It's a lot easier to educate people through social media and through the news outlets than it is at 7 or quarter after 7 in the morning with a sky full of birds and people surrounding you asking a bunch of questions. So, yeah, we had a couple interesting hunts, as you said. Saturday morning, it was we're going to take a little humor out of this. We watched a bunch of cruisers traveling up and down a range road we could see from a field we were hunting in, and one of the people in a laydown blind next to me said, "Hey, I think there's something going on out there." I said, "Sure is. There's a lot of cruisers in this area for this time of morning." And it wasn't but 10 minutes later, we looked behind us and they were all parked behind us with the lights on. And no, the initial was that they thought we were in a zone that you could not discharge a firearm. Being an outfitter in the area, I was quite certain that we weren't. So we got out. Officers were very friendly. Again, not really sure why it took 5 to come to a hunting complaint, but we explained to all 5 of them, walked them back to my pickup and got a map out, got some literature out, and directed them to the Strathcona website, where by that time they had kind of realized, hey, maybe they were making a mistake. Gave them all the information, although it did kind of break up our hunt. That was it for the morning. They informed us that we weren't allowed to hunt there until we heard back from them. Short while later, probably about 2 hours later, we received a phone call that, and I guess I wasn't able to take the call, so they left a message that, yeah, they were sorry, we were in the right. They informed the complainants that we were in the right, that we were good to go, and they promised that they would send an email out to the detachment to make sure that this didn't happen again. And at the time, we informed them that while they were in the field, that we would be hunting that field again the next morning, and we'd be more than happy to educate the population. Whoever needed educated, we would give them the same information. So I guess with that said, we proceeded to hunt the next morning to get not quite the same thing. We had one cruiser that showed up in the middle of the field and another one that was stood by on the road. And I guess, this officer kind of knew when he came out that we were probably legal to hunt, but he had a call for gunfire, and he had to finish his investigation. So he felt the need to drive across the field, come to our setup and ask us our names and question us about the gunshots. And what was a little bit disappointing with that one is that we had educated 5 people the day before. Again, didn't really disturb the hunt. We were close to the end of the hunt by the time they came. But, the big deal was we dealt with it the day before. This officer knew that we weren't doing anything illegal, but still proceeded to interrupt a legal hunt. So a little bit disturbing. I guess the biggest thing that we want to try to get out is that we want the authorities, if you're in that position, us as outfitters, we need to know the rules and regulations, because if we break them, we're in trouble. We get charged. So we ask that the law authority understand the same rules and regulations, and disturbing a legal hunt just to finish off your case or to finish off your documentation is really not the way to go. So, no disrespect to the RCMP and all the social media posts. I've been doing everything I can to try to back them up, to say, hey guys, everyone's getting educated here. And I just hope that if we take anything from this, that we take that there's a little bit more education on both sides, being the resident side and being the authority side, that we get the word out there. That everyone knows, hey, in some of these areas, hunting is allowed, and the county allows the hunting. And then also, to take off of that, the counties, and especially from us outfitters, there's a lot of income that comes in off of these hunts. So everyone needs to realize it's a business. We're doing it. Sometimes you're going to maybe have to listen to a few gunshots for a few different mornings, especially in the middle of goose season. So
Yeah, well, and I understand with the police, the first time, anyways, if you got a firearms complaint, I mean, it could be potentially very serious. They have to take it seriously. That's why they don't send somebody alone, because we've seen some tragic circumstances in Meyerthorpe, for example.
Yeah.
They have to be careful for their own protection. It's quite almost inexcusable the second time. Okay, you guys have been corrected. You know this, and I imagine or would guess it might be the same person who put the complaint forward. So yeah, talking a little bit about it. I mean, you're near a populated area. People who haven't hunted don't necessarily understand that. For example, shotguns are quite loud. They're loud guns, but when you're hunting geese and that, they don't have a terribly long range. They aren't that dangerous as much as it might sound to somebody who's not familiar with them, and it could frighten somebody. I live in a populated area too, and we get the same thing year after year with people who commute to the city. They're actually urban people who've moved to the country and don't understand that we do this every year out here. So yeah, and as you said, it's a business, so that disturbed your client's experience in hunt. They might have only gotten one weekend for it, which is unfortunate.
One of the biggest aspects too, and I explained it to the officer yesterday, is here in Strathcona County, and a lot of people will tell you spend more time hunting for permission than you do actually hunting for game in Strathcona County, and it's hard. I mean, it's, we get relationships with farmers, we get relationships with residents, and we try to keep that relationship. And when we have the RCMP calling at 7 o'clock in the morning to a landowner just to ask if we have permission to be out there before he comes out, it's not so much hassling. It's the next time we go to that landowner, he's going to say, you know what, I don't need a phone call at 7 o'clock in the morning to wake me up when you've already called me the day before. And we spend, especially this time of year with the harvest, the farmers are working late, trying to get going in the morning type deal. And then if they've got authorities calling them to ask them questions that we already know the answers to, it's just going to make it that much harder for us to get permission to be on private land.
Yeah, well, it was an unfortunate. It looks like you took it at least in good humor. Some of the comments on your site there at Canadian Premier Hunts on Facebook. There's no sense getting too upset about it, but I'm glad you talked to me, because if we could prevent some more of this happening to other people, we do have urban listeners and subscribers of the Western Standard. Just a reminder, if you're hearing things or you see a fella in camouflage walking around with a properly cased firearm, chances are he's probably just hunting, and there's no need to call the authorities.
You know what, and for hunters too. I mean, we've got to respect the rights of the residents, and I mean, this field in particular, we're half a kilometer from any resident, any building, and we make sure that we're way back down in the corners of fields and away from residents. If I think the law is 180 or 200 meters is what you need to be away from a resident. If you're actually hunting 200 meters from somebody that's laying a complaint, they've probably got good reason to lay a complaint. I mean, to the untrained person around firearms, 200 meters is probably too close. So, we make sure that we're out there, get away. Like I said, this field, we were all but, the closest house might have been a kilometer away. So we've got that 500-600 meters that we're distancing themselves. If we're doing it safe, there should be no reason for complaint. And then again, like I said, it's just education on all parts to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and common courtesy and communication. I mean, if you're hunting and you see a house nearby, if it's not too early, perhaps a knock on the door just to let them know, even if it's not their land, hey, by the way, we're going to be active in your area if you get the chance, or things, common sense, I guess, which is often lacking out there. But thank you very much for sitting with me, Jason. I hope the rest of your season goes uninterrupted and lots of successful hunts with what's remaining of it. Oh.
You bet. No, it's a pleasure. We love to do it. And if we keep everyone educated, we should be able to keep doing it for a lot of years.
Great. Thanks. Well, with any luck, we won't be talking again, or at least not about anything like this.